Hey guys, what's up? This is Adam here. I can't see any guy. Hope you're having a good day. Halloween next month, so I'm in the mood to do the sequel to the previous movie that I've just reviewed. That was John Carpenter's Halloween, which came out in the year of 1978. But here I am to review the sequel, which came out in the year of 1981. Boom, Halloween 2. This is the 30th anniversary edition. The first thing I want to point out is that prior to having this Blu-ray, I had a DVD of Halloween 2. And what I really loved about the Halloween 2 DVD was actually the front cover. You know, it was like so 80s. I mean, it was like a dark black cover with a pumpkin in the middle, like an orange grainy pumpkin, and all the writing was like a grainy orange. So you could really tell it stood out for like an 80s cover, you know. But I got rid of that DVD so I could get the Blu-ray, and it was one of my biggest regrets, you know. But we all make mistakes. It was this cover's okay. It's just like I said, it's the 30th anniversary edition. It's got Michael Myers' face on the front and some of the victims that he's killed in the hospital around. It's a fine cover, but still like the other cover better. But we all make mistakes. I will buy it again in the future, you know, just for that one reason, you know. And plus, it's good to look back on a 1981 movie. I mean, I say this in all my movie reviews that if you go and watch an old classic movie from the 70s or the 80s, including Halloween, the best way to watch it is on VHS. That's what I truly believe, because when you're watching a movie on VHS, it adds quality to the whole project. Like, you can tell it's an 80s movie, you know, if the screening's all dark and grainy and the tape's flickering, making it very fuzzy, you know. It really adds a feel to great 80s horror movies, at least in my opinion. Not just Halloween, but Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know, all those great horror movies. Now, the sequel, I mean, first of all, the first thing I want to point out is I know there's been other Blu-rays out since then, you know, with Halloween 2, but this is the 30th anniversary edition, and to tell you the truth, you don't really get much in the bonus features. I mean, you get the Terror of the Isles and alternative ending and some deleted scenes. That's all this Blu-ray contains. And I know there's better editions out there. I need to get them. I mean, one thing I really would love to have seen of this is a documentary, because I'm going to get into the reasons why I like this movie so much and why I think it's a solid sequel. I really wish it would have gone behind the scenes a little bit more, where we had commentary from John Carpenter and an interview with Jamie Lee Curtis and just a full-grown documentary on this movie. I would really love to have seen more about what happened behind the scenes and the making of this movie. But after the success of the first Halloween movie, I don't think John Carpenter was aware whatsoever of what a blast that movie was going to be. And I don't think he was aware of how much money he was going to make from that movie either. You know, it was such a big hit. And the fans loved it like words can't describe. I mean, the movie made so much money, and despite the success of the movie, the fans were like, we want to see a sequel. We want to see a sequel. Now, John Carpenter had no intention of making a sequel. He basically explained everything in the first movie, you know, about the story about Michael Myers, you know, when he was a child. He stabbed his sister to death on Halloween night, but spared the life of his baby sister. And when the cops arrived at the scene, they take him away and take him to a secure psychiatric ward. We don't know why he killed his sister, and unlike certain Halloween icons, I mean, you get the odd ones that talk, like Freddy Krueger, Chucky, they all talk. But characters like Jason Voorhees and including Michael Myers do not speak. And that's what makes them really scary characters, the fact that we don't know how they're feeling, what's going through their minds, you know, what they're trying to express. And Michael Myers was just that in the first Halloween movie. You know, he comes back all those years later. Jamie Lee Curtis is now playing the grown-up sister of Michael Myers. You know, she's being stalked by her brother. You know, there's scenes, you know, where Michael Myers is like staring at her through a school window. There's a scene, you know, where he's hiding behind trees and bushes, and when she's on the phone, she looks out the window and thinks she sees Michael Myers hiding behind the sheet that's hanging on the washing line, and she doesn't know whether it's her own imagination or whether Michael Myers is truly there. But the concept of Michael Myers was really scary. The fact he was a stalker, and the fact we knew nothing about him. Why did he kill his sister? Why has Michael Myers come back? You know, why is he going after his older sister? That's what made Halloween really unique. That's what made Michael Myers really scary. And many fans out there who are a fan of this franchise agree with me with that statement. But they wanted to see a sequel because after the end of Halloween 1, Dr. Sam Loomis, played by the legendary Donald Pleasance, he comes back in this movie, but at the end of the first movie, he shoots Michael Myers. Michael Myers falls out the window, off the balcony, and onto the back lawn. And just before the credits roll, Michael Myers is gone. What an ending. That's a really great ending. And in my opinion, if they would have left Halloween as a standalone movie, I would have accepted that because John Carpenter wants to leave that scary ending. The fact that Michael Myers has now disappeared, where did he go? That's the shocker. So he wanted to leave it at that. But no, fans wanted to see a sequel. And John Carpenter, in the end, agreed to do a sequel. Came out with this Halloween 2. And what more can I say about this movie, everybody? It's a gem. It's such a solid sequel, and it's so easy to talk about. It's even more easy to talk about than the first movie. Basically, the events take place right after the first movie. Jamie Lee Curtis' character, Laurie, is being taken to hospital. She's now lost her mind, and she's also got some wounds from the events of the first movie. In the meanwhile, Dr. Sam Loomis comes back, played by Donald Pleasence yet again. He's still convinced that Michael Myers is still alive. And what better place to try and find out where Michael Myers is than by following his sister to the hospital, where she's being taken. Because Michael Myers is now on a mission to go to the hospital to get his sister, and Dr. Sam Loomis goes there. But that's basically what the movie's about. It takes place in one location in a hospital, and what a perfect setting for a horror movie. Really, that's what the kind of a genius John Carpenter is. His creative ideas. There's so many things you can do with a horror movie that takes place inside of a hospital, like all the dark corridors, all the empty rooms, all the instruments in the hospital, all the hazardous substances, chemicals, murder weapons. The things that you could do with a horror movie in a hospital is like really unique. And John Carpenter came up with that idea for a sequel, Halloween 2, and it's a genius idea. So, to cut a long story short, Michael Myers, it's about him trying to get his sister, who's now in the hospital, and one thing I want to point out about this is that the characters are so even more likable in this movie, especially Donald Pleasence and Jamie Lee Curtis. One thing that was great about Jamie Lee Curtis' character is that she put up a fight against Michael Myers. She wasn't one of these typical characters in horror movies where they just scream and then they run away or anything like that. Jamie Lee Curtis was a go-getter in this movie. Despite her losing her mind, despite after all what she's been through, she fights Michael Myers. She puts on a good fight against him. The scenes like where she's trying to get away from him, but most of the scenes in this movie, she's actually trying to fight off Michael Myers. And Donald Pleasence joins in. You know what I mean? And there's even a scene in this movie where Donald Pleasence's character and Jamie Lee Curtis' character work together to try and stop Michael Myers. So, again, and as for Donald Pleasence's character, there's more to him in his character. He has a lot more to do in the sequel. There's a lot more scenes, where he's trying to stop Michael. And I love the connection that Jamie Lee Curtis had with Donald Pleasence in this movie. The teamwork that they did against Michael Myers. Now, gore-wise in this movie, there's some gore in this movie. I mean, the fans wanted to see more gore in the sequel. Number one does have its scenes of gore, although they're not gory like you'd see in a Hatchet movie. But there's gore, and John Carpenter, and I agree with him in this statement, he says that you don't really need necessarily loads of gore in a horror movie to make it scary. And I agree with him on that. I mean, take a look, take this movie, for example, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, starring Betty Davis and Joan Crawford. A thriller, no blood in the movie, but it was suspense at the same time because of the events that were happening, but there was no blood, despite what happened behind the scenes, between those two women. But there was gore thrown in this. We get to see a doctor with getting like an axe in the face or in the head. We get a woman who gets like a needle stabbed into her neck. Again, all these ideas are all cropped up as simple things you can just use in a hospital as murder weapons. So there was some fair bit of gore in this movie. So Donald Pleasence, he gave what the fans wanted. He gave him a sequel. He made it as simple as possible about it in taking place in a hospital. you know, and you know, he gave the fans what they want, basically. I mean, although he didn't want to do it at first, he did it eventually, and he gave the fans what they want, and he gave them a solid sequel, you know. And like I said, he also threw in more gore, just like the fans wanted, and just like the first movie, it was a success. And in my opinion, Halloween 2 does not get spoke about much than all those other sequels. Because in my opinion, this is like a gem of a movie. There's not very often you'd say that the sequel's better than the original. I mean, there are some movies in that case, like Terminator and Aliens, you know, and those other kinds of movies. But is Halloween 2 better than the first movie? I think it gives it a good run for its money. I really do. They're both as good as each other. And that's a very rare occasion where things like that happen. And the ending of this movie, just like the first movie, was even better. Because at the end of the first movie, we did not know what happened to Michael Myers. And if they would have left it at that, I would have been happy with that. You know, but he comes back, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of this movie, he gets some gunshots to the eyes, I believe, because blood is running down Michael Myers' mask. There's like this leaking bottle or canister in the hospital. Like, you know, a flame gets introduced to it, and Michael Myers burns the fuck to death. And there's like this inferno scene in the hospital scene where Michael Myers is set on fire and he falls to his knees, falls down, and he basically becomes ashes. Now I think to myself, if that's not the end of Michael Myers, what the fuck is? I mean, I know he comes back in part 4, The Return of Michael Myers. So we learn that a bullet didn't stop Michael Myers. We learn that bullets to the eyes didn't stop Michael Myers. We learn that being burnt to a fucking crisp did not stop Michael Myers. So you can also call him an immortal horror icon. You know, I mean, if you can survive a gunshot wound and you can survive being set the fuck on fire and turning into fucking ashes, I think anything can. But what an ending! I mean, from start to finish, the idea and the fact that he's now basically ashes, you know, was a good way to kill off Michael Myers. Great ending, you know. And I was really impressed with like how this movie was put together for a 1981 movie, because during that year, some horror movies struggled, you know, with finance and things like that, and getting the right budget to make these really awesome scenes. But not in this movie. It had everything for a sequel, you know. It had the actors coming back reprising their roles. It had a good story, good killings. Fans got what they want, gore-wise. I wanted to see a sequel. They got a sequel. Michael Myers came back. Jamie Lee Curtis came back. Donald Pleasence came back. John Carpenter came back. And, you know, what more can you say that this is a very solid gem? Really brilliant sequel. And like I say, it's one of the reasons why I said I want to see a documentary of this movie. I mean, I'm not sure if one is out by now. I could be wrong. There could be one out by now, but I would love to see a documentary where, based purely on this movie, you know, where it goes behind the scenes, and I want to see interviews, how it was made. You know, I want to hear opinions and storytelling from Jamie Lee Curtis and John Carpenter and Donald Pleasence. I really love to see a documentary just purely based on this solid gem, Halloween 2. Really would love to see it, you know. But after rewatching this just moments ago, it just made me fully aware of how solid this was, you know, because I watch my movies before I review them, and I just watched this moments ago. And like I say, I've got to see a commentary documentary one day. And one thing I would like to do is get that DVD cover back, you know, the one with the pumpkin, you know, because it had a big Halloween feel. And I wouldn't mind owning it on VHS again, you know, because it made me realise how much of a big fan I am of the Halloween franchise. Although it's not my favourite horror franchise, mine's Nightmare on Elm Street. But it just makes me aware of how much I love the Michael Myers character and how much I love these characters. So I would like to, you know, relive all these moments again, you know, on VHS or DVD again. But that DVD cover's a must-have. I must get that back. I wouldn't mind it as a poster, you know, the pumpkin and all that. Really great. That's my review, everybody, and stay tuned. And next is Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. The one that did not star Michael Myers, but hey, I'll review it in my next review. But thanks for watching this, everybody. Please leave a comment, and thanks for watching. Peace out.